Hello again, traders. This is Mike with netpicks.com. In today's video, I want to dive in a little deeper and take a look at some specific details on how I trade options in my own trading each and every day. Hopefully by now you've had a chance to download my hot list that I released in the last video, where I gave you 10 different stocks and ETFs that I trade each and every day in my own trading. These are 10 names that I've had some great success with here so far this year. These are 10 names that if you just take out of the box, you're going to have some great success over the next couple of months. Okay, so once you have that list, what's the next step? Okay, what I did for this video is I just pulled a name off of that list. We're taking a look at Priceline, symbol PCLN, and I loaded it up on a daily chart. Okay, so for some added visuals here, I did add a 20 period and a 50 period moving average, so you're also looking at that on the chart. So step number one is you need to make sure you have a system in place that puts the odds in your favor. That system has to give you very defined entry and exit points. Okay, before you even think about putting a position on with options, you need to have a plan in place. You need to know exactly how you're going to manage that position. Now there's literally hundreds, probably even thousands of different systems available on the market today for you to take a look at, for you to use, that give you the predefined entry and exit points. I really don't care what system you use. If you can trade that system with confidence, if that system has proven to give you an edge, I'm completely fine with that. Okay, so for this example here today, we're looking at the daily chart, pretty common time frame that traders look at. So you come in, you take a look at Priceline, you see this gap to the downside back in August. Okay, this was a move related to earnings. They came out with disappointing earnings in August, caused a pretty big sell-off. Price action has been pretty slow ever since then. Okay, we've tried to recover to the upside. It's been moving pretty slow along with the rest of the market here over the late summer weeks. If you take a look at price action, you see that we finally broke through the 600 level over here. Saw a nice day in the markets here today. So you're bullish. You want to put on a long position on Priceline. So how can you put that position on? Well, as a retail trader, you have a few different options. Okay, number one, you can just go ahead and go in and buy the stock. Okay, pretty simple, pretty straightforward. The problem with that is it's a $600 stock. So as a retail trader, it's going to tie up a lot of your capital to put on any type of a sizable position. Option number two is to actually come in and look at some call options. Okay, those call options, they're going to give you control of Priceline stock for a set amount of time. If you're to go ahead and purchase one call option, it's going to give you control of 100 shares of Priceline stock for a set amount of time, which we're going to talk about here next. Okay, that call option is probably going to run you anywhere from $600 to $1,800. Okay, so as you can see, these options are going to give you an incredible amount of leverage. Okay, you're going to be able to control 100 shares for a fraction of the cost. Okay, so let's jump over to the trade page and look at a few of these options, a few of these different ways that we could play this position. Okay, so option number one is we can just buy the stock. Okay, it's easy as coming in and buying the stock, hitting the button. Okay, done with. The order's placed, you buy the stock. Okay, the problem with options, and this is why a lot of traders shy away from options, is they can seem pretty complex once you start to look at them. Okay, if we look at the options, these are all the different expiration cycles that we have over here on the left. We have the weekly options. Okay, they expire, they're good for 1 week. We have monthly options. They're good for a month. We have longer term leap options that give you control further out in time. Now look what happens when I open up some of these different expiration cycles. If I open up September and October and we look at all the different strikes, look at all the different options you have available to you. Some traders will come in here and look at this and say, I don't even know where to start with this. This seems completely overwhelming. Okay, we literally have hundreds of different options that we can look at. How do I even know where to start? Okay, well, using some very simple criteria, we can start to narrow this universe down. Okay, so first of all, let's just close up these expiration cycles, and we're going to look at the September options. We have 15 days left to expiration, so these options, should we decide to purchase them, are going to give us control of Priceline stock for the next 15 days. So the first item that I like to look at is the expected holding time for my position. Okay, so if I know on Priceline that my average holding time on my position is 5 days, okay, that's really going to help me narrow this list of options down. So we can go ahead and narrow this. Let's just look at 8 strikes. Okay, so based on my average holding time, this is going to help me select the option. Okay, so somebody with no experience might come in and say, okay, I have a small account size. I want to purchase an out-of-the-money option. They look like they're cheaper. Okay, we could come in and look at the September 620 call. Okay, you can control 100 shares of Priceline stock for less than $600. The problem with that is that call option is $20 out of the money. Okay, not only does Priceline need to move in your favor, it needs to move in your favor in a big way for that option to really gain value. Okay, so I hardly ever trade out of the money options. The only time I really trade out of the money options is when I'm trading some of the more complex positions like spreads. Okay, another trader might come in here and say, okay, I want to look at the at the money option. So I want to look at the September 605 call. Okay, it's going to be pricier, obviously. Okay, we're looking at the cost here, but it's going to cost us just under $1,200 to control 100 shares of Priceline stock. And it's going to give us control of Priceline at $605 per share. Okay, seems like a pretty reasonable option to look at. The problem with this one is there's just so many different pros and cons of at-the-money options that I just don't have time to get into here today. So really, I could argue back and forth whether this is a good option. Okay, another trader might come in and say, I want to trade the in-the-money options. Okay, I want to look at the September 595 call. Okay, this option's already in the money. It already has a significant amount of value to it. Okay, if you purchase this option, it's going to cost just under $1,800 to control 100 shares of Priceline stock at $595 per share. Okay, so how in the world do you know which one to purchase? Okay, in theory, if you're bullish on Priceline, okay, you get into a long position, it goes up and hits your target. As long as you purchase a call option over here, in theory, you would think you could make money. And it's not the case. If you purchase the wrong option, you're either not going to make as much profit as you thought you would be, or you're not going to make any profit at all altogether. That's why it's extremely important to know exactly what you're looking for. You have a very set list of criteria in place before you go ahead and purchase these options. Okay, very important to have an expected holding time in mind. Okay, if you're expecting to be in a position for a very short amount of time, just for a couple of days, you can absolutely get away with trading the at-the-money options. And in this case, that would be that $605 call that we talked about. If you expect to be in the position for any length of time, okay, and what I mean by that is if you're expecting to be in the position for a period of weeks, then you're going to want to go with the in-the-money options. And in this case, we would be looking at that 595 call that we talked about. Okay, yes, it's going to be more money, but you're going to put the odds further in your favor if you go with those in-the-money options. Okay, so just some basic criteria for you to look at. That's exactly the type of thought process that I start to go through in my trading each and every day. Okay, so hopefully you can start to see the power of options trading. We're talking about controlling 100 shares of Priceline stock for less than $1,800. That's extremely powerful for us retail traders. Okay, that also gives us the potential for some very high percentage returns in a very short amount of time. Okay, so it's very important for you to understand what you're doing when you're trading options. In our next video, we're going to talk about, okay, once you're in the position, what do you do next? How do you manage the position? We're going to dive into that a little bit deeper. Okay, so I'm going to wrap this video up here. We do have some really exciting videos coming later in the week. Very exciting announcement here later in the week with some exciting news about a new product that we will be releasing here in the next couple of weeks. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap this video up here. I'll be back with you here shortly.